Before you toss out that empty box, that worn-out sock, or even the very last heel of bread, take a moment. I remember a time when nothing in our homes went to waste. Not because we were following a trend, but because that was simply how life worked. We gave almost everything a second life, and that habit still serves us well today. These little ways of reusing and repurposing can save money, make daily life easier, and sometimes even bring back a warm memory from years gone by. Today, I am going to share 11 simple tricks I have used myself. Some came from my mother's kitchen, some from my wife's clever hands, and a few I discovered on my own while fixing life's little messes. Stay with me until the very end because number 9 just might save your blouse button at the exact moment you need it most. Tip number 1. Taming the wrapping paper pile. Every year, as the holiday season approaches, I find myself digging through the closet to pull out the wrapping paper. It should be a simple task, but it has often turned into what I like to call the great paper chase. I would open the closet door, reach for a roll of wrapping paper, and suddenly 2 or 3 others would slide out like they had been waiting for their chance to escape. They would roll across the floor, bump into furniture, and pick up dust along the way. By the time I gathered them back together, the edges would be crumpled or torn, making the paper less than perfect for wrapping gifts. Over the years, I have wasted more paper than I would like to admit just because it got damaged in storage. One day, I came across a simple, almost laughably easy solution. I took an empty toilet paper roll, cut it lengthwise from one end to the other, and gently slipped it over the wrapping paper roll. The cardboard squeezes slightly around the wrapping paper, keeping it from unrolling on its own. Now when I store my wrapping paper, it stays neat and tight until I need it again. You know, the beauty of this trick is that it costs nothing. Uses something you would normally throw away, and it works every single time. I have even used the same method for other items, like keeping folded gift bags flat, so they do not pop open and take up more space than necessary. This little fix may seem small, but it saves frustration, prevents waste, and makes holiday preparations a little more peaceful. If you have ever had your wrapping paper tumble down on you when you were reaching for something else, you will understand just how satisfying it is to have this simple solution in place. Tip number 2. The button and the missing earring. If you have ever stood in front of a mirror, ready to put on your favorite earrings, only to find one and not the other, you know the feeling of frustration that comes with it. You start searching through the jewelry box, the little dish on the dresser, maybe even the bathroom counter, hoping the missing one will appear. Earrings, like socks, have a way of wandering off and leaving you with just half of the pair. I used to spend far too much time hunting for that missing match. Then, I remembered something from my mother's sewing tin. She always kept a small collection of spare buttons, the kind that came with coats, shirts, and dresses, or ones saved from garments long gone. They were mismatched, worn, sometimes chipped, but always kept just in case. One day I realized that a button could be more than just a sewing supply. It could be an organizer. I took a pair of earrings and pushed each one through a separate hole in a button. The earrings stayed together, perfectly matched and easy to find. Since then, I've been keeping my most-used earrings stored this way. It works especially well for studs or smaller hoops, though you can make it work for larger earrings by placing one on each side of the button. The best part is that it turns something small and often overlooked into a practical storage solution. Now, instead of searching for a lost earring when I am in a hurry, I simply reach for the button that holds the pair I want. It saves time, reduces stress, and adds a touch of old-fashioned resourcefulness to my daily routine. Tip number 3. Solving the mystery word puzzle. In today's world, it seems like every device comes with its own cord, and no 2 cords are exactly the same. Phones, tablets, cameras, e-readers, even kitchen gadgets. Each one needs its own charger or connection cable. Before long, you end up with a drawer or a box full of cords that look almost identical. You pick one up and have no idea what it belongs to. Is it for the phone you use every day, the tablet you read on at night, or the old camera you bring out on vacations? I have been there more times than I can count, especially when there are cords for my devices and my wife's devices, and they are all tangled together. After one too many mix-ups, I decided to start labeling them. The easiest and cheapest way I found is to save the small plastic tag that comes on a loaf of bread or a bag of rolls. These tags are sturdy, light, and just the right size to write on. I take a permanent marker and write something simple like phone, tablet, or camera, or even a name if it is a shared device. Then I clip the tag onto the cord near the plug. Now, when I look in the drawer, I can instantly tell which cord is which. If I do not have a bread tag, a simple twist tie works too, though it is not quite as neat. This trick has saved me time, prevented arguments over whose cord is whose, and made it much easier to pack the right chargers when traveling. It is a small change, but it brings a sense of order to what used to be a jumbled mess. Tip number 4, aluminum foil. The scissors saver. There comes a time in every household when a once reliable pair of scissors begins to betray you. Maybe you notice it first when you are wrapping a gift and the blade drags across the paper, leaving a jagged tear instead of a clean cut. Or maybe you are in the kitchen trying to snip a piece of twine, and you have to work the blades back and forth just to get through. I have had that happen often enough to know the frustration well. Years ago, before I learned this trick, dull scissors meant two things. Either you went without until you remembered to buy a new pair, or you tried to sharpen them with a sharpening stone that you could never quite get the hang of using. Then one day I came across an old bit of advice from a neighbor who had grown up during the 1930s. She told me that aluminum foil, which most of us keep in the kitchen for cooking, could also be used to bring a little life back to tired scissors. The method could not be simpler. You take a sheet of foil, not the heavy-duty kind, just the regular roll you use to cover leftovers, and fold it over several times until you have a thick, firm strip. Then you cut through that folded foil again and again. The act of slicing through the layers helps realign the edges of the blades and smooth out small nicks. It will not restore a pair of scissors that are completely gone, but it can make a surprisingly big difference in ones that have simply lost their sharpness over time. So, I now make a habit of doing this every few months. It is quick, costs nothing, and lets me keep using a tool I have grown comfortable with. There is something to be said for that. The way a good pair of scissors fits your hand after years of use. The way you know just how much pressure to apply. Throwing them out feels like parting with an old friend. I remember watching my grandmother cut fabric for quilting, her scissors gliding through the cloth like it was nothing. She would never have tossed them out lightly. This little aluminum foil trick keeps that spirit alive. It is not just about saving money. It is about respecting the things we already own and making them last. Every time I sharpen my scissors this way, I feel like I am keeping a small piece of that older, more resourceful way of living. Tip number 5. Tissue boxes for storing plastic bags. Plastic grocery bags have a way of multiplying. You bring home a few with your groceries, and before you know it, there is a whole tangle of them stuffed under the sink or in a drawer. They puff up and take over. And when you actually need one, you have to wrestle a single bag out of the heap. I lived like that for years until I found a simple fix that turns a common piece of household recycling into a handy organizer: the empty tissue box. It started one winter when cold season had gone through our house and left us with several empty tissue boxes. I hated to just throw them away, so I set one aside. A few days later, as I was struggling to stuff yet another armful of plastic bags into the cabinet, I noticed that the opening in the tissue box was the perfect size for pulling out one bag at a time. That little light bulb moment changed the way I store bags forever. Now, when I come home from the store, I fold each bag lengthwise a few times, then roll or tuck them neatly so they fit into the box. The first one goes in handle first, so it is easy to grab. When you pull out a bag, the next one is sitting right there, ready to go. The box keeps them contained, neat, and easy to access. I keep one in the kitchen by the back door, another in the laundry room for quick cleanups, and one in the trunk of the car for unexpected needs when we are out. It is such a small thing, but it saves time and keeps clutter under control. No more bags spilling out of the cupboard when you open the door. No more digging through a messy pile. It also feels good to give that tissue box a second life before it heads to the recycling bin. I have even decorated a few boxes with scraps of wrapping paper so they look nice sitting out in plain sight. This is the kind of practical, quiet solution that makes daily life smoother without costing a penny. And it is the kind of thing you only learn from living in a home for many years and finding ways to make it work better. Tip number 6. The humble plastic bag's many uses. You know, if I had to choose one everyday item that proves the value of reusing things, it would be the plastic grocery bag. These little bags are often dismissed as disposable, but in our house, they are put to work at least once more before they ever go in the trash. In fact, I would say they are one of the most versatile tools you can keep on hand, and they are completely free. One of the simplest uses is as liners for small trash cans, bathroom bins, office waste baskets, even the little bin in the laundry room. All of them can be lined with a plastic grocery bag. It fits perfectly, and when it is full, you just tie the handles and toss it. No need to buy special small trash liners, which saves a bit of money over time. Another common use is for wrapping up wet or messy items before putting them in the trash. Whether it is a bit of food waste, something from cleaning out the fridge, or even just a damp sponge that is worn out, putting it inside a plastic bag first keeps the main trash can cleaner and helps with odors. For pet owners, these bags are perfect for picking up after a dog on walks. I keep a few folded in my coat pocket or in the glove compartment of the car, so they are always within reach. It is a small courtesy that keeps public spaces pleasant for everyone. Plastic bags also shine when it comes to travel or outings. I have used them to store wet swimsuits, to keep muddy shoes from touching clean clothes, and to wrap delicate items so they do not rattle around in a suitcase. In the garden, they can protect your hands like makeshift gloves or carry a small handful of weeds without dirtying up a bucket. The key is to see them not as throwaway clutter, but as a free, flexible resource. When stored neatly, for example, in the tissue box dispenser from the previous tip, they take up very little space and are ready whenever you need them. Reusing them extends their life, reduces waste, and makes you a little more prepared for life's small messes and surprises. It is the kind of quiet, thoughtful habit that may not seem like much in the moment, but over the years it adds up to a cleaner home, a tidier neighborhood, and fewer things going straight into the trash. Tip number 7. Planting apple seeds with the grandkids. Sometimes the simplest activities leave the biggest imprint on a child's memory. One spring afternoon, my granddaughter finished eating an apple and carefully saved the seeds. She told me she wanted to see if they would grow. I smiled at the thought. It reminded me of when I was a boy, and my friends and I would stick seeds in the dirt just to see what would happen. We took her seeds outside and planted them in a sunny spot in the yard. She watered them faithfully whenever she visited, and a few weeks later, the first tiny green shoots appeared. Over the next 2 years, that little experiment turned into a tree taller than she was. It might never produce apples, and I told her that from the start. But that didn't matter. What mattered was the sense of care, patience, and pride she developed watching something she had planted grow stronger each season. She would come running up the driveway, drop her backpack, and race to the tree before saying hello. Even if you don't have much space outdoors, you can start seeds in a pot on a windowsill and watch them sprout. This can be done with apple seeds, lemon seeds, avocado pits, or any number of others. It costs nothing and turns what might have been thrown away into a teaching tool, a bonding moment and a living reminder of time spent together. Long after the tree is gone, she will remember that it started from something as small and simple as the seed in her hand. Tip number 8. Old socks, new purpose. Every household has them. Socks whose partners have gone missing, or socks too worn out to wear, but not yet ready for the trash. In the past, I might have tossed them, but I have since found they can be surprisingly useful for cleaning. A sock fits perfectly over your hand, turning it into a soft, flexible duster that can reach places a regular cloth or duster might miss. I use old socks to clean the wooden shutters in our home. With my hand inside the sock, I can run my fingers along each slat, getting both the top and bottom in one pass. The fabric catches dust better than most store-bought dusters, and when the sock is dirty, I can toss it in the wash. Or if it's too far gone, throw it away without guilt. Well, this method also works wonderfully for blinds, baseboards, and even polishing silver or dusting picture frames. If you keep a few old socks in a drawer in the laundry room or under the sink, they are always ready for quick cleanups. There is a certain satisfaction in using something for as long as possible and finding one more job for it before it leaves the house. It is a habit born from the waste, not want, not way many of us were raised, and it still feels right today. Tip number 9. Clear nail polish, the button saver. It always seems to happen when you are in a rush. You are dressed, ready to leave, and just as you are giving yourself a final glance in the mirror, you notice it, a button on your blouse or cardigan, dangling by a loose thread. It is hanging there like it is deciding whether to stay or make a run for it. You know from experience that it could fall off at any moment, and once it is gone, finding an exact match might be impossible. In an ideal world, you would sit down right then and there, needle and thread in hand, and sew it back on securely. But life does not always allow for that kind of timing. Maybe you are already late for an appointment. Maybe you are halfway out the door. Or maybe you are about to leave for a family gathering and there is no chance you are going to sit down and start sewing in your nice clothes. That is where this little trick comes in. Clear nail polish, the same kind used to give nails a glossy finish, can work wonders for holding a button in place temporarily. Just a quick dab over the loose threads will act like a seal, preventing the thread from fraying further and keeping the button from twisting and loosening. It dries in a matter of minutes and is practically invisible. No one will ever know you had to give your clothing a quick rescue. I keep a bottle in the bathroom cabinet, but I have also tucked one into the sewing kit just for this reason. It has saved me more times than I can count at church, at weddings, even before heading out for a nice dinner. Of course, when the day is done and you are back home, you should still take the time to sew the button properly. But this little drop of polish buys you that time. It is one of those tricks that makes you feel prepared, like having a safety pin in your purse or an umbrella in the car. You may not need it often, but when you do, it can make all the difference between a comfortable day and a wardrobe mishap. Tip number 10. Bread heel magic. The heel of a loaf of bread is a funny thing. Some people love it, others skip right over it, and many simply toss it in the trash without thinking twice. In my home, the bread heel has a very important role. It is the secret to reviving baked goods that have gone hard. It all started when I was a boy watching my mother pull a tin of cookies out of the cupboard. They had been sitting there for a few days, and when she bit into one, it was more like biting into a cracker than a soft, chewy cookie. Instead of sighing and tossing them out, she walked over to the bread box, took out the heel from that morning's loaf, and placed it right inside the tin with the cookies. She closed the lid and left it until the next day. When we opened the tin again, the cookies had transformed. They were soft again, the way they had been on the day they were baked. The bread heel, on the other hand, had gone stiff and dry. My mother explained that the cookies had absorbed the moisture from the bread, which brought them back to life. It works for brownies, muffins, quick breads, anything that has dried out a little too much. Over the years, I have used this trick countless times, especially after holiday baking marathons, when there are far more treats than can be eaten in a single day. Instead of watching those extra cookies go stale, I give them a second chance with the help of a humble bread heel. It is such a small, almost magical thing, but it means less waste, more enjoyment, and one more reason to hold on to something most people throw away without a thought. Tip number 11, the dryer sheet debate. Okay, every household has its little differences of opinion. In mine, one of those is about dryer sheets. My wife has always liked using them. She says they make the clothes softer and smell fresher. I, on the other hand, have never been convinced they are necessary. We have had this conversation for years, and it has become one of those friendly, good-natured debates that neither of us expects to win. The truth is, I have learned to pick my battles, and this is not one worth fighting over. If my wife wants to use dryer sheets, I let her, but I have found my own way to make the most of them. After the laundry is done and the dryer sheet has done its job, I save it instead of throwing it away. Used dryer sheets still have plenty of life left in them for other purposes. They are great for wiping lint off the dryer's lint trap, freshening the bottom of a small trash can, or even dusting along baseboards and blinds. The slight texture of the sheet picks up dust nicely, and the light scent lingers just enough to feel fresh without being overpowering. There is one more compromise I managed to sneak in. I cut the sheets in half before they go into the dryer. My wife still gets the softness and scent she likes, and I get the satisfaction of making them last twice as long. It is a small win for thriftiness, and she gets to keep her habit. So, in the end, we both feel like we have won. This little back and forth about dryer sheets is a reminder that running a household is not just about the things we use, but about how we share them, adapt them, and make them work for both people. It is a small example of how we blend habits, preferences, and even tiny debates into a life lived together. And if along the way we can save a bit of money and waste less, then that is something we can both agree on. And there you have it. 11 simple tricks that can save you money, make your home run a little smoother, and maybe even bring back a few good memories. Some of these ideas are old-fashioned, the kind that have been passed down quietly from one generation to the next, and others are little discoveries you pick up along the way when you have been running a household for many years. If even one of these tips helps you out this week, I will count that as time well spent. And if any of them reminded you of something you used to do or something your parents or grandparents taught you, I would love to hear about it. Those small bits of wisdom are worth keeping alive, and the best way to do that is by sharing them. So if you have a favorite household trick, whether it is something practical, something thrifty, or something that just makes life a little easier, tell me about it in the comments. Someone else watching may be looking for exactly that idea. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you will come back for more conversations like this where we keep good habits going, learn from each other, and maybe pick up a few new ideas along the way. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your home, and keep finding ways to make the most of what you already have.